What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. In today's video, we're taking a look at the team that took me to Legend in the Great League Fantasy Cup in the Season of Timeless Travels, featuring Turtonator with a backline of Ferrothorn and Flygon. Let's get into the battles here right away because there are some good ones. I took a mix of battles from both my live stream on the day the cup came out, as well as the Saturday stream. So we're starting off a battle here against the illustrious Caleb Pang, taking on his Cavalier with Turtonator. This tells me that he's incredibly weak in the back to the Turtonator. So I'm going to save the Turtonator and swap straight into my Ferrothorn here, and I'm expecting there to be a Steel type in the back. Could be Registeel, Lucario, or a Ferrothorn, so that's good. So now what I'm hoping to do is I'm hoping to play this out a little bit and somehow save my Ferrothorn for later in the game. Now, this is an incredibly boring matchup, so we'll take some time to talk about the team. Turtonator, right? I just wanted to play Turtonator because it has such a strong matchup against all the Steel types, and Steel is honestly the best type in the cup. And this team essentially, this whole meta really is an RPS meta. It's all alignment. It's going to be based off of, you know, you win lead, you win game kind of thing. So here what I do is I come in with my Turtonator again. I'm just trying to lure back out that Azumarill after getting some energy on my Ferrothorn, and my Flygon's just sitting back there ready to help out however it can. So, gonna go for just going for chip damage with the flamethrowers here. The Ferrothorn is now low enough where I don't need to worry about saving my Turtonator anymore. Ferrothorn is in the back because I have had so many teams that I faced that were just like, here's a Steel lead, we're safe swapping Azumarill. Ferrothorn takes the Azumarill in the Tapu Fini matchup and just completely destroys it, which means that Ferrothorn has the ability to come out with energy loaded after that matchup, which makes it really, really powerful. You can come out of an Azumarill counter swap situation with 100 energy, or not 100. If you get to 100 energy, then you throw the power up and you have 50 energy, and you've still got a move ready to go for whatever comes back in. So, and here what I'm going to do is I was actually expecting a combo play after he got that shield, so I swap in my Flygon to absorb the damage from the Power Whip here, and then I'm going to go ahead and just go for a Dragon Claw, but I can overload on energy here because I still have a shield. I want to make sure that I come out of this with enough energy to throw Scorching Sands at the Azumarill to KO, and then that's going to be the game here. So going for the resisted Dragon Claw, it is enough to KO here, that's okay. Flygon is the safe swap on this team in bad leads just about every time because it's just so powerful in this meta with the moveset that it has and the typing that it's got. It's just incredibly powerful. And at this point, I just get the farm down, and that's going to take game one. So good game to Caleb. Getting into the next battle, we got Turtonator on the lead versus a Magnezone, and I can't tell you how many times I saw Steel leads. Like literally, I did not include my whole Legend run set in this video. If you want to go check out my live streams from the last couple of days in Fantasy Cup, please do. There were some incredibly fun battles, and it was a really hype stream. Both of them were. Really recommend checking that out just to watch it. But also because the entire last set of me getting Legend was 5-0, and there were 5 leads that just completely got eviscerated by Turtonator. And then the opponent safe swapped Azumarill, and Ferrothorn just came in and just, yeah. So I shield there because I just don't want to get it with a player off. Most Weezing are running Sludge Overheat like this one is. But by shielding that, I can actually farm all the way down here. My opponent then comes in with an Azumarill. My switch clock's not quite up yet, and I have quite a bit of a time left here. I think I have like, yeah, it was about 15-20 seconds left, excuse me, on my switch clock. So I need to stay in this matchup, and I'm just going to keep throwing Scorching Sands at the Azumarill, and at some point I'm going to swap in my Ferrothorn here in order to be able to get good alignment. Now, I feel value in the energy that my Flygon has, so I'm going to shield it here. And here's another note too as well, and I'm gonna really talk about this in a bit when we get to the Azumarill leads. But if the opponent's Azumarill doesn't have Ice Beam, Flygon wins that matchup. And if you have a Shadow Flygon as well, Shadow Flygon can basically two-shot Azumarill with the Scorching Sands if, you know, with the mud shots. You'll see when I play the matchup out with Azumarill, the normal one doesn't quite get there, and it leaves him in the red, but the Turtonator's Turtonator's so freaking powerful, dude. It's so good. And this team, basically, you call that you're going to have a good lead, right? And if you get a bad lead, and you're going to see some of the bad leads. We're going to go, I tried to throw them in. So here's the Azumarill lead. Immediate safe swap into Flygon. And what I do here is I actually keep overloading on energy until they throw a move, and then I shield it. because if they throw on 6, I know it's Play Rough, and if they commit to that matchup, I can win it. And this Azumarill threw Play Rough, so I know that they don't have Ice Beam, which means now I have a chance to win. But even if the Azumarill stays in this matchup and gets my shields, that keeps it away from Turtonator. And if you guys have, if y'all have played this meta at all, you'll know that if there's an Azumarill on the lead, there's probably steals in the back. Or, vice versa. If you don't see the Azumarill in the lead, it's in the back. And if you don't see steal, you know what I'm talking about. The Azumarill steal is basically the core. So what I can do here is I can just go ham on this energy. Now, I know the Dragon Claw is double resisted, but again, you see the Azumarill's in the deep red here. I can basically take this thing out. I farm down, and now the opponent does have 2 shields, but they have steel in the back. Their best response to this is Lucario. So what I'm hoping here is I can get the Dragon Claw off and then get to a Scorching Sands immediately after. Hoping. But unfortunately, I was 1 short. So Turtonator's going to come in anyway here, and I need to keep the Ferrothorn away, and they come in with a Registeel. Now, this is dangerous because my Ferrothorn really has nowhere to go. That's the one downside of having Ferrothorn in the back, is if it doesn't land on the Azu, it really doesn't have much play against the Steel. So what I do now is I bring in my Ferrothorn, I'm going to farm all the way down if I can, and then I'm going to rain Thunders upon the Lucario that is now getting low. So that's kind of my hope, is I'm going to get a shield with that, but unfortunately, I'm not able to get there. Lucario's got some energy, and I have to be careful because I do believe that my Turtonator is within range to be taken out by a Shadow Ball, if not close to it. But my only win condition here is I get to Incinerate down, and it's going to take me 2 Incinerates to get there. Now, if this is a Shadow Ball, I'm probably done. Opponent goes for the Power-Up Punch, and that tells me they may not even be running it. They may just have Power-Up Punch Blaze Kick, so good game. Getting into the next battle here, we got Turtonator on the lead versus another Registeel here. Oh, not another Registeel, it's the first one in the video. But we get a steal, and then the opponent comes in with the Flygon. Now, here's the problem is, if I come in with my Flygon, I'm behind on energy, and they win. If what I could do is I could stay in and go for a Dragon Pulse, but they get to a move long before I do so. The only real thing I can do here is come in with my Ferrothorn, and all this is doing at this point is keeping Ferrothorn away from the Registeel. I'm not expecting to win this matchup because I know I don't. Ferrothorn just does not have the pacing to keep up with Flygon. But if I can, I'd like to get it down into the red so that I can try to farm it down with something and have a lot of energy. Registeel has nowhere else to go against this team, so I'm not particularly worried about it. I just need to manage whatever is in the back. And so what we're going to see here is exactly that. I'm going to let this go, okay? Ferrothorn's done its job. Now it's a matter of what I want to come in and farm down with. I'm going to try to come in here and farm down with Flygon, although if the opponent gets to a Dragon Claw like they do, it's risky, but I'm going to let it go. I'm going to save the shield for Turtonator, and I'm just going to see what happens here. Opponent does get farmed down and gets to another freaking Dragon Claw. That's how spammy this Flygon is. 4 Mud Shots to a Dragon Claw. And I'm not exactly counting it after all of those Mud Shots have been thrown. I forget at what point we're at with energy. So opponent now comes back in with the Registeel, and that tells me that they have something in the back that does not appreciate Flygon in the least. So now they come in with a Gabite, and I'm like, oh, what? Okay, so I was very confused, but Gabite some spice, and that's why I threw this video in here, because I wanted to feature some spice, because I respect when people run the spice. Now, depending on, I don't know the moveset of Gabite off the top of my head, but if they're going to throw Dig, and that's their cheapest move, I'm pretty sure I should be able to get to this Dragon Pulse before they get to another move. And then I've got so much HP, Registeel cannot one-shot me with a Focus Blast, and we take it out. I'm going to give him the button. Boom! Because we have to. Now, I just get to a Flamethrower here and I win. The Focus Blast is not going to be enough to KO, so I'm chilling. It's close, but Turtonator is surprisingly bulky. Even a Raid IV Turtonator is good. And if you're going to run Turtonator, if you're going to run this team, if you don't have a good IV Turtonator, that's okay. You can just run a Turtonator with Raid IVs, and in this exact situation, that way you know if you win CMP. Now, Turtonator leads, what I like to do is I stay in and I like to see who wins CMP. And the opponent here loses CMP, so that tells me that I win this matchup. And so I didn't do it in this particular video, and I guess they didn't CMP. I don't know what happened. But if you do win CMP, you should expect the opponent's Turtonator to try to catch a move. Now, they actually stay in, they wait, and then they swap, and I didn't really notice it. But if I was paying attention, I would have. But that's okay, so I'm going to build back up to a move, and then I'm going to come in with my Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn is really here for the sole purpose of taking out this Azumarill, and that's fine, because if you don't hit the Azumarill in the lead, like I said, it's going to be in the back, and that means Ferrothorn has a target. Now, Turtonator, the mirror match, right? So going back to that, because you all have seen this matchup before, this is nothing new. The Turtonator mirror, if you win CMP, I would expect the opponent to swap to catch like this one did, but they may do it, it may play out a little differently. But just be cautious. I would overfarm by 1 if you see the situation. I would overfarm by 1 on the second charge move in order to be able to not get that move caught on like that. So I go immediately for the Dragon Pulse here, and I know that my opponent has a ton of energy, so I kind of have to get them to throw it. But what I'm going to do is I'm coming with my Flygon here. Excuse me. And I'm going to shield the Flygon. It's a head-on energy, and I can easily get to a Dragon Claw before they get to a move, but they come in with a Slurpuff. Now, normally this would be bad, right? Slurpuff, Fairy type, Dragon type, not great, but Slurpuff in this meta is typically running Flamethrower and Energy Ball. So what I need to do here is I need to overfarm just enough to make sure that I can get to a Dragon Claw before the Turtonator is going to be able to take out my Flygon with a Dragon Pulse. Now, typically, when it comes to the Turtonator, they can only have 1 move. They need 3 Incinerates per charge move, and I get to the Scorching Sand, so I'm going to throw that to be safe, but I was going to go for the Dragon Claw otherwise. So able to take out the Turtonator and take that game. Well played to the opponent. Excuse me. All right. And I forgot to cut out the queue times of this one. Very good job, me. At least it wasn't a long queue time. Anyway, night and day were from the 2 different streams. I took out some of the battles from the day stream and inserted some of the night ones because I wanted to make sure I included as many situations as possible. Now, there is going to be a situation coming up, and I believe they're both in this video. So I wanted to encompass as many of the bad situations as I could so I could talk them through. But this particular situation is when you see a Steel lead and they come in with an Azumarill. This is how I play the Ferrothorn matchup. You know, I like to, you know, they can throw a move if they want, but now I go for the first Power Whip whenever, and then I go for the next one when I get to 100 energy or close to it. And now, this is going to allow me to have a move ready for when the Sand Slash comes back in, or whatever other Steel type it is, regardless. And the opponent just says they lose. They knew. When you get hard countered like that, I get it. Okay, so this is the worst possible lead for this team, in my opinion. Haxorus, every time I've ever seen a Haxorus, I don't see their second Pokemon. Like, legit. And when you throw a Skarmory at me in the back, yeah, Skarmory is back there to hard counter Flygon. I get it, okay? So, unfortunately, I'm getting hard countered in the lead. I have nothing to beat Haxorus on this team. That is the risk that I take, is I decided to dig my heels in on a specific part of the RPS triangle, and that would be the Steel lead with the Azumarill in the back, and then Flygon just does Flygon things. However, if you catch an Azumarill lead, you can still win them as long as you don't get completely hard countered. Obviously, any team that gets triple hard countered, if you lose, then that's not your fault. That's just the team was just bad for you. So this particular situation is a team that is very bad for me. Haxorus now has the shields that it needs, and I basically I can't do anything unless they decide to let the Haxorus go. I bet you that there's an Azumarill back there, and I don't have any way to get access to it because I can't get to 2 Power Whips before they can just destroy me. Now, most Haxorus are running either Surf with Breaking Swipe or they're running Earthquake with Breaking Swipe. This one built up to the Earthquake. I respect it, and I'm like hoping that I can get to the second Power Whip, man. That's all I got. If I can't get to it, then I'm done. But like I said, every single time I've seen Haxorus on the lead, I haven't even been able to see the third Pokemon. So they're going to be able to take me out here. They have another Earthquake. They take me out, and I can't even get to a move against them with Turtonator, so they're going to take me out. And it is what it is. Good game. They had me. So getting into the next game, we got a really nice lead here with Magnezone. The whole team has very positive playing to Magnezone. My opponent swaps into Dragalge, and I make a very bad move. And I'm going to tell you about how I should have handled this. Because when I saw Dragalge, I'm like, okay, Ferrothorn doesn't really beat this, and Flygon has a chance, but realizing that the Dragon Tails just chew through my Flygon, I don't have a chance here. So even though I'm going to be able to get shields off my opponent, I'm not going to be able to get both shields and take out the Dragalge because that damage from Dragon Tail is just too much. So now they get switch advantage, which is probably not great for me. So I come in with Ferrothorn because it's going to be able to absorb the energy better. And even still, 2 Power Whips is going to come very close to KOing a Magnezone. So it's going to come down to what's in the back now. But Dragalge, what I would have done is I should have built up to the Dragon Pulse with Turtonator. And then I should have thrown it. And then come in with Flygon to be able to start kitting it with Dragon Claws. That's what I should have done. And I think that that would have been the only way that I could have taken care of the Dragalge. And I would have had to make sure that I ate a move off of the Dragalge if they threw the Aqua Tail before I got to that Dragon Pulse. That's okay, because that's what I would have liked to have happen. Now, the opponent does have a Azumarill in the back, but thankfully I did save my Ferrothorn with some HP and some energy, so all I got to do at this point is just get it down into a range where I can get to 2 moves, but it's going to really depend on how low I can get the Azumarill because I need to be able to get at least 1 more move off, but the opponent now can just farm me all the way down. And unfortunately, if they get to 2 charge moves, I can't shield 1 and take 1 because Ferrothorn is just low enough where it won't be able to take an Ice Beam and some bubbles, and I have no energy on it. So unfortunately, I'm forced to just let this one go and hope it doesn't do enough damage, but the Ice Beam is going to be enough to take my Ferrothorn down low and take it out, and that's a good game. Well played to my opponent. The Dragalge totally threw me off. All right, getting into the next battle, we got a Flygon lead. Another very bad lead for this team. The way that I do this is I'm going to go straight into my Flygon and pray. If they stay in and commit to this matchup, that usually means they have double steal or something like it in the back. Typically, if they have an answer for Flygon other than Flygon on their team, they'll bring it in here. But wait, they almost always go for an immediate Dragon Claw for a shield, and then they dip out. But if they stay in like this, I'm pretty confident that they don't have an answer for Flygon in the back. Excuse me. Still working on that cough. Hopefully it goes away soon. But I know that I can live 1 Dragon Claw from this range, so I'm going to go ahead and do so. Now, my opponent goes for another one, and they're outpacing me because they had energy. I'm going to go ahead and let this go, and I'm going to overfarm just a bit. And my opponent makes a huge mistake here trying to catch that Dragon Claw. Not that they would have known, because they probably would have expected me to go for it when I'm that low on HP, but they come in with the Dedenne, and they get 1 shot. Boom! By the Scorching Sands, and I still have energy for a Dragon Claw when they come back in. So the catch was a good attempt, but I was considering I was gonna over farm because I knew I could. And thankfully it paid off for me. So what that tells me is, yeah, they don't have an answer in the back. They may have another fairy or they have a Registeel or another steel type is what I was expecting. I was expecting to have maybe like Slurpuff in the back or essentially another steel or a steel. So they do have the Registeel in the back, and since it's their last Pokemon, all I have to do is come in with Turtonator and get to a Flamethrower, and I'm going to be able to do that because it lives the Focus Blast, which is all that Registeel is going to be able to get to, even if it is able to farm down my Ferrothorn. Turtonator just charges so quick with that Incinerate. That's all it's going to need to happen. So this is looking like a good game here. My opponent knows it, and they decide to surrender. Good game. Getting into the final game against the legend himself, though tactical. He's got a Whimsicott on the lead and immediately is going to switch into a Turtonator. I'm going to stay in and get my Dragon Pulse off beforehand. And poor Tho was molding. I went to the stream to say, just say, hey, nice to see you in GBL. But we cap off with a 5-0 to hit legend in the Fantasy Cup, and there it is. This team is incredibly strong. Yes, there are definitely some things that are going to hard counter it, but if you can play it right, finesse it, and try to manage energy, and just remember that you can still do damage even if it's resisted, it's going to be helpful. Now, if you're looking into any coaching or anything as well on my Metafy, you can find links in the description and in the pinned comment. Full blast into coaching now that I've got Legend out of the way. And also, if you want to join the Patreon Discord, or you can become a YouTube member and get in there as well. This team's been live since last week for my Patreons, and they've been killing it with the team and other teams that we've got shared in there. Great community, early access to pretty much everything, and that's going to do it for me for today's video, guys. Thank you so much, and I appreciate y'all for being here and watching. Channel growth lately has been amazing, and I hope it continues, and I just thank you all so much for being a part of it. So I'll catch y'all later. Bye.